Oh my gosh. Look at that drippy faucet. Oh, so irritating. I have a problem. We have these Gotonovo, something along those lines, faucets that are beautiful off Amazon. Oh my gosh, they're just perfect. Except that this one started leaking almost immediately after we got it, which is indeed a problem. But I sent Gotonovo, I will pop it up, a message. And they sent me replacement. Oh my gosh. My brain's not working at this moment. What do you call these things? Cartridges. They sent me 2 brand new cartridges, which is great. So we had the sink in for 5 or 6 months, I guess, when it started to act up a little bit. And it was no hassle. I sent them a message and they said, hey, you got a bad valve? Here, have these. And they sent me some new valves. And to be very, very honest with you, we have 2 of these sinks. There's one over there too. We have 2 of these sinks, and they sent me new cartridges for all four. They got 4 of these. They sent me 4, which is crazy. So I'm going to install this thing, and provided it all works and everything's good, I'm super pleased by this. So let me show you how to install these cartridges. First things first, how do I know which side it is? Now, ideally, you would just replace them both and call it a day. I don't think that's necessary. I really think it's just going to take one. And the one I think it is I think it's the cold water. Because no matter how long this thing drips, and it drips, and it drips, and it drips, the water stays cool. If this was hot water, coming from the hot water side, I feel like it would at least be a little bit lukewarm, but that is cold water coming out of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down below, I'm going to cut off the cold water via the valve, and then we're going to pop this thing open and see how it comes apart. So give me a second. All right, here's our valve underneath the sink. You'll notice I put a little toilet paper right there, and the idea is that these valves are notorious for leaking if you use them periodically, especially if they're old. So what the toilet paper is going to do is it's going to tell me if the valve begins to leak. So I'm just going to take this thing and tighten it down. You feel it get tight, and don't over tighten it. Problematic, to say the least. Now what we're going to do is relieve the pressure that's built up in the line. All right, no pressure on the line, that's good. And that will allow us to crack this thing open and see what's inside it. Now, when you look at this thing, you wonder how in the heck it comes apart. And you can get some hints just by looking at the cartridge itself. So you can see the top of this is threaded. So you know there's a screw up underneath here that has to be removed. Now, these unscrew, all right, but I don't think that's how this works. And this sort of thing is not the type that you would want to go prying on it. But if you just twist it, I bet, hang on. Oh, there it goes. You can see this will come off of there, just like that. And it's brand new, so there's very little corrosion on the inside of that. And it's just a Phillips head, so we're going to take that Phillips head off, and that should be what holds the whole top of this darn thing together. So let's see what happens next. Now, key point, I'm closing my sink so that if I drop anything, it doesn't disappear and force me to go into many other less fun steps. So we can get that screw loose, and then this whole thing lifts off of there. So there's the screw. We're just going to leave it inside of here, provided it'll stay. There we go. And there's the top. Looks just like that. Let's see what all we can do here. Well, it appears that I may have to loosen up the entire contraption, and that's no fun. So I'm probably going to have to loosen this up from below, and that'll let me get this piece out. So let me go get some more tools, I suppose. Alright, so I loosened this thing up from below, and that gave me enough space to then pull the top cap off. And there, folks, there's how it is. So if you look, let me see if I can get you down in there. That goes down in there in the fashion as you see. And again, I'm willing to bet that this is the problem. Because if you notice, we're not dripping right now because I cut off the pressure to this valve. So there's no drips. No drips. So we know it's this one, okay? This cartridge is malfunctioning. So I took the liberty of getting a long socket. Now, look at this, folks. This is not a very tall piece of brass, and it's brass. It's brass, and it's not real big. That tells me that if I were to take pliers or something into this, it would strip it in a heartbeat. And then you're talking about a whole nother situation of getting this thing out of there. So to get it out, I have my big set of, my big wrench here, if you will, and socket. And I'm going to twist this thing out of there. But to do it is going to be a little complicated. So just give me a second to figure this thing out. All right, what I wound up doing is I went underneath and I retightened it a little from the bottom. And now I've got my socket here. I've got it loosening. I'm going to put it on there and I'm going to hold everything from the bottom and see if this thing just pops loose. I hope that it's very lightly held in place because it's all rubber and O-rings that seals it. It's not necessarily how tight it is. So let's just get in there, holding it from the bottom side. See if this pops loose. Oh, the whole thing's turning. Oh, I think it's going. There it goes. Now it's bleeding off a little bit of water pressure. And that's totally acceptable. Totally fine. All right. Let's get a towel to keep this thing clean here. All right, there it is. Now, here is the old one that was causing us some issues. And here's the new one. They are nearly identical. The hope is, however, that this one actually seals where this one was not. And perhaps we'll try to crack this thing open a little while and see what we think the problem was. All right, away we go. Let's see if we can get this thing to work. So I'm going to take my valve and place it on there. Interesting view down inside of that, by the way. Can you see? That's not at all the way I expected it to look. It's somewhat off-center in there. Fascinating. All right, so I'm going to take my new valve. I'm going to place it in there and gently rotate it into place, like so. Now, it's not seated by any stretch of the imagination, but it's in there. And I'm going to gently tighten it up until I feel satisfied that it's closed, which is not something easily quantifiable, but is reality. So I'm watching the valve. Okay, let's hope for the best, shall we? Now, tightening this thing up on the underside and trying to hold it still is hard, and I don't want to bust any of the water pipes that lead to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry this thing out real good, exactly the way it sits. Extremely dry, as dry as I can physically get it. And then I'm going to turn the water back on, and we're going to see if it leaks. All right, away we go. Water on. No water dripping from the underlying valve. Feed valve, if you will. See if this does anything. Okay. We have water flowing. Now let's cut it off. It seems to be working, and there are no drips. I see no leaking around the base. I think we may be successful. So, top piece. Tighten down. Good and tight. Next piece, let's close that up. Next piece is here. And we have to use our Phillips head screwdriver and tighten this back down. And again, remember team, this is brass, and brass and steel don't communicate well together. So all this screw is really doing, you can see that it's built in a fashion to allow it not to need a lot of tension on the screw. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten that screw up just tight, all right, just tight. And then, last but not least, we'll replace our cap on top of there. And we have a bad valve for the trash can. A good valve to keep. This cost me nothing but a little bit of time and effort. And I have no complaints. So, Gotonovo, you know, they sent me a product that had an issue. And when I told them there was an issue, they fixed it immediately. So that's pretty good from my perspective. I have no complaints. And that is how you fix the sink in the event that it's broken. And I suppose that'll do it for us. So you guys have a great day. I hope you don't have any issues of this fashion. And thank you so much. Bye-bye.